English teacher friends. Kristian Kuhn coming at you again, affectionately known as the Bob Ross of composition. And in this writing workshop, we're going to take a look at how to respond to a Facebook Marketplace advertisement. It's a real world literacy exercise inspired by the following event. So I have a 21-year-old son. He's been saving his money to get a car. And he was asking me, why doesn't anyone respond on Facebook Marketplace? And I said, give me your phone. Let me take a look at what you have. And his responses to these advertisements were so poorly written that it was a bad reflection of himself. And I said, there's a literacy bias in the world that, especially in an era where folks are leery of who shows up at their house for Craigslist advertisements and marketplace advertisements. There's a little bit of vetting and there's a little bit of profiling, and no matter, how wrong that is, it happens. And so I'm thinking, what a great opportunity to teach students how to write in a manner in which they get a response and in which they create a really nice image of themselves and their persona in the mind's eye of the reader, which I'll unpack what I mean by that in just a second. So before we jump in, please subscribe to the channel. It's called Kristian Kuhn, the Bob Ross of composition. And in terms of algorithms, it really helps me if you click the like, make some comments, and kind of spread the word far and wide to your friends, colleagues, and students. And if you would like to run this exercise in your classroom, all the slides that you've seen thus far and the ones that are forthcoming are down below in the description of the video. Just scroll down a tad bit. They're kind of hidden down there a little ways, but they are there and they are for free. Also note that I offer a ton of professional development. So I often work one-on-one with teachers, or just a couple of people from the department, or the whole department will travel to you. We can do it on Zoom. And I'm an expert on the art of composition, and I have a ton of heuristics that I use and have developed over a 23-year career. Got a ton of stuff in the YouTube channel if you're new to me, and you can explore that. So if you have any questions, you can give me an email at teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. I also have a website, www.teachinghowtowrite.com, and there's a little bit of information on there about my self-paced course and the PDs that I offer throughout the calendar year. So the assignment rationale, and I've already kind of alluded to this, is that there is a literacy bias. And oftentimes students, approach things too casually, too nonchalantly. And this summer, at the time of recording this video, I'm getting a lot of requests from students to write them letters of recommendation for college. Because I principally teach juniors, and now they're, ascending seniors, rising seniors. And I'm amazed at how many of them, when they reach out to me, don't even include a subject header. There's no greeting, there's no salutation. The paragraphs aren't organized. There's punctuation errors all over the place, just syntactical simplicity. And I'm like, guys, you can't be that haphazard, especially in a professional environment or in a collegiate environment where you aspire to go. So I have to teach this stuff explicitly. And here's the reason why. Right? As we know, as readers, right, as English teachers, when we read, there's kind of like a film projector in the back of our mind. And the words that the writer commits to papers creates an image in our mind's eye, right? So words create meaning. Words create this pictorial image in the back screen of our mind's eye. And in case of writing of this nature, we form judgments about the person. So here is the assignment, kind of the rhetorical situation. Carrie, a high school student who just recently passed their driver's test, has been faithfully saving their earnings for the better part of a year in the hopes of buying a quality vehicle. And after weeks of futile searching, they happened upon the following Facebook Marketplace advertisement. Up for sale. I have a desired year, single owner, plug in your dream car vehicle. Knowing that most prospective buyers like to run a Carfax, here is the VIN number 5675309. Bonus points to any kid who knows that number. The mileage is very low, especially given that my grandmother exclusively drove it to the grocery store and church. And given the spiking cost of gasoline, please note that this vehicle gets 46 miles per gallon. Prior to listing, we had a 402-point inspection, and there are no known mechanical issues. Cosmetically, the vehicle is in pristine condition. Willing to negotiate the price, $8,500. And then in bold here, serious inquiries only. Please be mindful of the image you create in the mind's eye of the seller, right? So you notice here in terms of the diction, the person writing this, the person creating the advertisement, is very well spoken, very articulate. Their punctuation is immaculate. There's a fair deal of tier 2 level vocabulary. So you're dealing with someone who's a little bit polished, right? So it's not like, I got car for sale. It's very, very articulate. So I like my students to recognize the fact that you have to match your literacy to the audience. And in order to make that magic happen, my old age my old age adage, you got to Bob Ross your instruction, right? So teachers, I always encourage you to be the expert in the classroom and provide models, right? You are the expert in the classroom. So get to the proverbial easel and canvas and paint. I put air quotes around that. So in other words, write with and for your students. Show them how to do this. But in the beginning of the year, is when I'm going to run this exercise, and I'm going to do it blind. I'm not going to show my students how to Bob Ross this until the end of the activity. And I'm going to make it a contest. I'm going to buy 5 Matchbox cars. And on this blind diagnostic run, I'm going to award a Matchbox car to the top 5 writers in the class. And I usually have anywhere from like 24, 28 kids in the class. And I'm going to project the top 5 anonymously as a teaching moment. It's going to show the whole class how to compose these and how basically conduct yourself on paper. In particular, I love this exercise because we always have that knucklehead or knuckleheads in our class that say, when am I ever going to use this stuff? And usually, it's a kid that, probably would want a vehicle in Marketplace. My boys of that, ilk tend to say that. When am I ever going to use this stuff? So I'll give you an example of one that a former student wrote. And it says this: Good afternoon. If it is still available, I would very much like to make arrangements at a time that is convenient for you to look at the vehicle you have up for sale. Some background about myself. I'm a very responsible high school student who has worked 2 jobs in order to make this purchase possible. If everything checks out upon completing the test drive, I'm prepared to pay your asking price in cash. Looking forward to hearing back from you, Samantha. Right. So one of the things that I hammer with my students is my Word Study Academy and my Nuance Academy, in which we learn all the fundamentals of grammar, punctuation, syntax, the parts of speech, how to teach voice, rhythm, and flow. And you can see in this, this student has, a fair amount of tier 2 level vocabulary. The syntactical arrangements are really cool. Like, how often in a Facebook marketplace response would you see a student, use a parenthetical statement by 2 offshooting dashes, using things like colons, right? So you want to punctuate, you want to have polished grammar in order to get a response, to be the top candidate to get this car. And then contrast that to something like this. And I wrote this one so as not to shame anyone. Hey, this car be dope. I'll give you 6,200 cash today if you want. You down for that? Again, like no punctuation, these very truncated, simple, responses. It's not going to bode well for the kid, and it begs the question, right? Who's more likely to receive a response? words create meaning in the mind's eye. So I think Samantha is getting the response over me. So again, if you would like me to do any PD or you have any questions, give me an email at teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. Happy teaching, happy writing. I'll be making more real-world literacy exercises in the coming weeks and months as we kick off this new academic year. That's the end.